We're back with another market open live stream. Hey guys, I hope you are all doing well. It's Friday. So for traders, for normal people, it is the best day of the week, but for us traders, it is the worst day of the week. So as per usual, we're going to give away a free 5K 3-step challenge for the most engaged subscriber today. You've got to be subscribed, of course. And today, I think I have a limit, so there's no spam. I think every 30 seconds you can send a message. So we've got a lot of stuff to go over. I did not realize that the CPI report was this morning. I believe it was this morning. So I'm going to pull up my FX book. We're going to take a look at that. We're going to take a look at obviously the headline of this video, Trump potential trade agreement. He is going to be meeting with Xi from China. Let me see here. CPI September. Interesting. Let me share my screen here so you guys can see it. Okay, CPI report 8:30, so it was 30 minutes ago. Inflation rate month over month September. The consensus was 0.4 and it came in lower than expected at 0.3. Core inflation rate month over month expected to be 0.3, came in at 0.2. So inflation came in lower than expected, which should be good for if we look over at what is happening. We're basically seeing that S&P 500 futures up 0.5%. The dollar, a little bit of weakness, which is exactly what you would see. I'm a little bit surprised in the drop that we're having with gold, down another 1%. Again, you have to burn into your brain that correlation between interest rates and the dollar, right? Higher interest rates equal stronger dollar, lower interest rates equal lower dollar. But if the dollar is dropping, that means gold is going to go up. But I think we're seeing this drop just because it's continued profit taking. I don't think it's anything beyond that. You could see here we're actually getting a little bit of a short-term rally, which is exactly what you would see. If we hop down to the 15-minute chart, this is just textbook, absolute textbook move based on CPI coming in lower than expected. Because you have to understand, CPI coming in lower than expected, it means that the Fed, Mr. Powell, is going to be able, or he's already able to, but he's just going to have more confidence in cutting interest rates. It's already baked in poly markets at like 96% chance of a 25 basis point cut this month and another one in December. So this is exactly what you would see. You have to remember lower inflation equals lower interest rates equals weaker dollar, and then risk assets short term are going to go to the moon, which is really what we're seeing. Can you guys see the screen? I think it's just that stupid glitch that sometimes it's like a couple minutes delayed. Is it back now? Okay. Yeah, sorry about that. Like I said yesterday, I need to get some better live streaming equipment. So if the screen does go black at any time, it'll come back. So don't worry about it. But thanks for being in the chat. So this is exactly what I was saying. You could see this move here. Gold's still down on the day, 0.94%. But this last, 1 hour move is exactly what you would expect with the CPI report. So I want to go over everything that is in the email this morning, especially related to the headline that we saw of the trade agreement. So Trump's meeting Xi, oil goes boom, and CZ gets a free pass. We need to talk about Binance, and we need to talk about that NBA scandal of a bunch of people, like 50 people getting busted for illegal gambling related to the mafia and whatnot. Just totally wild. So on the menu for today is Trump meeting Xi. We mentioned that. Bank of America says the bears are waking up. There was a very interesting report from the Bank of America that does not look great for the overall market. So we'll take a look at that. OpenAI teams up with Uber. That was an interesting one. A Bitcoin whale with a 100% win rate just did what? We'll look at that. And of course, just like the sun always rises, the U.S. national debt hits a record high. The market was solid yesterday, though. It was a good day for Bitcoin, good day for the indexes. Tech really had a strong rally. S&P 0.58, Nasdaq up 0.89, Dow Jones 0.31, Bitcoin 2.25%. So it was a risk on day. And again, I've been saying it all week. The market is no longer believing Trump and these tariffs. The taco trade continues to pay off big time. So the markets were back in risk on mode, powered by strong corporate earnings and a few tech names carrying the S&P 500 like it was 2021 again. You can see here Amazon 0.41, Tesla, even with them having record revenue but profits not looking so hot, 2.29% rally. Google up 0.5%. Nvidia, Bank of America, all sorts of stuff were green, especially industrials. Honeywell, which is an industrial, 7%, and American Airlines 5%, and even Tesla bounced. The real excitement: the White House confirmed Trump will meet with Xi on October 30th, right before the November 1st trade deadline. So this is as soon as you see this, you have to think risk on, baby. We are going to the moon. We're already at the moon, but again, we continue to rally higher yesterday, sending traders into full taco mode. Trump always chickens out. So this was the headline that really moved markets yesterday. October 30th is going to be next week. It's 6 days from now. Like I've been saying, the November 1st deadline is what the market's waiting for. It's pretty much, we're not going to get a lot of information prior to that point. Now we know, perfect. They're meeting on October 30th. Trump's probably going to come out, out of the media and say, it's fantastic. We've had a great meeting. China, they've been ripping us off, but we're going to make a deal. It's going to be a great deal. It's going to be an amazing deal. So we'll wait for that. But I think for the most part, markets rallied yesterday on the news. The can is going to get kicked down the road as it always does. Translation: nobody believes tariffs are actually coming. So it's risk on. It's a risk on for the time being. And we saw that in the markets yesterday. We're seeing that in the markets right now. Bitcoin's up another 1.16%. Gold is rallying. Actually, right now, we just had a huge pump in gold right now. Hopefully you guys can see my screen there. Absolute pump. 15-minute chart here. Just minutes ago, it was down 0.5. It was down 0.1%. It's now erased half of that. So we are getting a really large move here. What's that? We just moved 230 pips. So, like I said, the market is clearly watching this live stream. I said, we're pumping, we're moving to the sky, and that's exactly what's going on. Bitcoin as well. This is a 15-minute chart. So you had that nice little spike with CPI, and you can see here it's hitting this resistance. Bitcoin's having a little bit of a hard time moving decisively to the upside. There's a lot of sell orders. Again, that consolidation is really strong here. But gold, there's still tons of demand, and you can see that here. So we'll want to see if it can break above 4150. That's really the main resistance level. This guy right here that will need to break above decisively. But yeah, we are rallying risk on decisively right now because of that CPI report. Again, so you guys have to burn this into your brain. Why markets care? If talks go smoothly, tariffs could fade, easing pressure on supply chains, equities rally, USD softens, and risk assets stay spicy. Okay, so the rally is built on hope and caffeine right now. Ride it, but keep one finger near the sell button. This was a big one as well. Crude oil surges on Russian sanctions. So I was just saying the other day, oil's down to like a multi-year low or something. Going to be good for gas prices. Not anymore. 2-day gain of 11%. So if you're feeling broke and you need to put gas in your car, you better do it now before the prices go up. $62 a barrel. And it's because of Chinese state oil majors suspend Russian oil purchases. So what the heck does that mean in plain fifth grade English? I shall tell you. So oil ripped over 8% after the US and the EU hit two companies, Rosneft and Lukoil, with sanctions, freezing assets and banning future trade. The move aims to choke Moscow's war funding, and it worked. Prices jumped as global supply fears kicked in, with India pausing new Russian imports and China cutting back. So it's sanctions on Russian oil, and that leads to concerns about supply issues, supply constraints, and boom, simple supply and demand fears. And now we have oil rocketing back above $60 a barrel. So why do markets care? I've been saying it all week. You don't have to trade oil, you don't have to trade gold, you don't have to trade Bitcoin. Why do you care? Because of resentment. High oil is not so hot for risk sentiment, right? It just costs more money for manufacturing. However, It can also be long term. This isn't the case right now, but long term, it can also be a signal of, if there's demand for oil, it's because people are doing business, right? So it can actually be a bullish sign, but right now that's obviously not the case because of the Russian sanctions. So less Russian oil equals tighter supply equals higher prices. It's as simple as that. Don't spend half your day on Bloomberg and CNBC trying to break down. These guys try and make you feel dumb, okay? Why did oil climb 11%? Ooh, we have these, geopolitical Russian sanctions due to so and so. Less Russian oil, tighter supply, higher prices. As simple as that. Okay. That's the entire point of Pip Munch. The entire point is to get the market news without making you feel dumb, which a lot of these places do. So it's absolutely free, and you guys can subscribe to that there. So moving on, Trump pardons Binance's CZ BNB pumps. This was major headline news yesterday. I don't know enough about the case of why he was, I think he served some time in prison. It was on money laundering charges. So I don't know the exact details of like, well, should this guy have actually been pardoned or not? I seems a bit questionable. Here's what we do know. In what might be the most 2025 headline ever, Donald Trump pardoned Binance founder CZ. I'm not even going to try and say his name. The guy who paid $4.3 billion in fines and served time for money laundering violations. So pretty insane, right? So found guilty. The White House framed it as ending the war on crypto, which is good for us, right? Maybe not so good for justice if, somebody who did something illegal is out early. They said he was a victim of Biden's overreach. I don't know exactly how that fits if he was found guilty. Maybe you guys can let me know in the comment section. But they're not public, but they have the BNB token, which spiked 4.85% to 1128 as traders cheered a potential crypto policy flip. So overall, I mean, you cannot look at the politics of this. You could just say this is good for crypto, and that's what I'm saying, right? This guy right here, ending the war on crypto. So that's good. It's good for us. I don't own any BNB. I don't own any altcoins, but this is obviously good for crypto. Maybe not good for the justice system, but good for crypto. And at the end of the day, what's more important, your crypto bags or the justice system? Of course, it's your crypto. Why markets care? Regulatory thaw, bullish sentiment across crypto. Binance may re-expand globally, boosting liquidity and altcoin volume. So pretty interesting stuff. I thought that was going to be the biggest headline of the day in terms of, like juicy drama. It was not, because after this, we had that massive NBA scandal, which we'll look at for illegal gambling. If you guys are here, the only thing I have to tell you is Lark Funding. October is here. 10% off all programs. October 10 will get you 10% off all of our programs, and it is the last 10% discount of 2025. Next month 5%, and then nothing as of 2026. And because you guys are here, you get first access, first insight. Unfortunately, there is a slight delay with all of the changes that we're launching because the tech build out is not ready yet. So we have to push it by a couple of weeks. So we're going to have something a little bit exciting to make up for that on November 2nd. A little early Black Friday-ish. So unfortunately, those Lark 3.0 changes are pushed by a couple of weeks, but they are coming, and they will be well worth the wait. How is CZ a victim? Wild time we live in. He's probably going to help the president with a new meme coin launch. How is CZ a victim? Yes. I had to read that in like a certain voice of like, were you being sarcastic, or like I got what you meant now, Christian, but at first I thought you meant he was innocent, but now you're saying, how is he the victim? Yeah, makes absolute sense. We're not planning to implement MT5 just yet. It's insanely expensive to onboard it, but eventually we will have MT5. Can you give a small insight into the changes in November? Yes. So changes for November. November. We are removing the two-step program. No more two-step challenges. No more 5K challenges except on instant funding. So the instant, you can still get the 5K, but on the one-step and the three-step, the 5K won't be available anymore. The prices are going up significantly. Will be one of the most expensive in the industry. Now, I understand people in the YouTube video I posted were like, this guy just wants our money. he's just increasing prices for the sake of increasing it. No, I said very explicitly in the video that we're increasing prices because the main changes of Lark 3.0 is about 3 to 4 significant features that no other prop firm and no other evaluation program offers, right? So completely different. And so the value add that you're going to get relative to the price increase, in my opinion, far surpasses it. All we did with this 3.0 launch is I said to myself, and I spent a lot of time of just thinking, when I was trying to quit my job and become a full-time trader in 2021, what is it specifically that I needed? What program would have helped me hit that goal? I was never somebody who had the money to spend 5K on challenges to just try and make 6K in payouts. We're not interested in working with that type of trader. We want traders who are career focused, who want to turn trading into a career. And so, like I said, these changes aren't going to be for everybody. If you're somebody who wants to roll over those challenges, lots of prop firms for you. If you are somebody who just cares about the cheapest challenge, lots of prop firms out there. But if you want a program that's actually going to help you build a career, and if you want world-class service, with no drama, because there's so much drama in the industry, Lark will be for you. So in terms of the actual specifics of the changes, of course, I can't release everything. All I'm going to say is, wouldn't it be nice if you could receive a payout, if you could receive a salary, even on months when you weren't profitable? For me, I, as a trader and as a person, I'm very risk averse. I would prefer to lock in a salary knowing that even if I'm not very profitable this month, I can still earn a payout. I would rather spend more on a program that helps me take that risk off the table of knowing, you know what, if I want to quit my job, if I want to pursue this full time, even if I'm not, massively profitable in a single month, I can still earn a base salary. Um, so that's kind of what we're bringing to the table, which hopefully you guys will be psyched about. That sounds amazing. By the way, like you're part of a hedge fund. Yeah, it's certainly not a hedge fund. Listen, it's not a salary in the sense of like you're getting, you're on the company books. It's still a payout, but it's being framed as a salary because you can earn it even if you aren't profitable for the month. Okay, so I won't reveal what the salary is. I won't reveal what the requirements are to get it. However, I think that for me, this is something that I would have wanted. So again, it's not going to be for everybody. It's going to be expensive, but I think it's going to be well worth it. So that's kind of what we're cooking up there. Let's continue on here to see this report, which was really, really interesting. Bank of America says the bears are waking up. This was a really interesting report. This is the headline here. The S&P 500 is close to market peak based on how many bear market signposts it's hitting. Bank of America says a whopping 60%. So Bank of America is essentially saying, get your helmets on. Here's the deal. 60% of Bank of America's bear market indicators are flashing red, inching dangerously close to the 70% level that has historically marked the start of full-blown market downturns. Translation: the everything bubble might finally be running out of air. So, what's setting off alarms? Valuations are stretched. PE ratios are higher than during the 2000 dot-com bubble and 2021's AI mania. So that's crazy. I've said it almost every day that we are at really, really high valuations. PE ratios are very, very high. AI mega caps dominate. Again, I've been saying this of how it's not the S&P 500 anymore. It's the S&P 6 as an example, right? Again, if you remove all of the data center growth, GDP in the US growth has only been 0.1%. So the entire economy is relying on AI mega caps dominating. Big tech accounts for 75% of the gains, the S&P 500 gains, and 80% of profits this year, which is crazy. The Fed likes to see balance across the market, not just this massive concentration in a couple of assets, a couple of companies. And like we said last week, credit stress is rising. We saw that with some of the regional banks loosen lending private credit delinquencies. Okay, so this is really an interesting one to keep in the back of your pocket when you're asking yourself, you know, Where are we headed? What's risk sentiment doing? This is an interesting report to keep in the back of your mind. Their research team basically said, statistically, the S&P is now statistically expensive on everything, including the Warren Buffett indicator, which is market cap to GDP, is at 219%, which is well above long-term averages. So, why do the market cares when why does the market care when earnings can't keep up with inflated prices? Gravity wins. Add in rising trade tensions with China, which we might get an easing of tensions next week, October 30th, and tighter credit conditions. You've got a recipe for volatility soup. So listen, how do you trade this? It depends if you're an intraday trader and you're scalping the 5-minute chart. This doesn't matter for you. Okay, it doesn't matter until the poo poo hits the fan. But if you are looking for long term opportunities, like my whole play is take a prop firm challenge, get payouts, and then use that money to invest in companies, right? So you can actually build longer term wealth. Then you're going to say, well, you know what? Valuations are insanely high right now. Personally, what I'm doing, I like index funds. I don't only buy index funds, but they get a lot of bad rap on a lot of people from a lot of people, on Twitter and whatnot. But I think index funds are good. But I am not buying at these price levels because we're so overextended. So I'm keeping cash on the side. That's how I read this. I say, you know what? Maybe I'll miss out on a 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7% gain. Maybe we'll continue to rise. But I think eventually there are some fundamental cracks in the economy. And so I would rather have some dry powder on the side. And then I can buy during dips like I've bought with the recent Bitcoin dip. I bought at like 105 last week. Nothing this week, though. So that's how I am treating this. Let's take a look at the chat. Scalping. Better scalp than hold. Gold is bullish today. Let's see what gold's actually doing. Gold's up 0.23%. So gold has continued to rally since this live stream. We started at a 1% drop, and so it's rallied 0.75% since we've started this live stream. S&P is rallying as well. We were at 0.5, we're at 0.65. Bitcoin still flat. But yeah, again, we're coming up here on the 4150 resistance. So we'll want to see what goes there. NASDAQ's rallying. USD CAD. There was some drama actually with Trump. Oh my goodness gracious. Look at this guy. Oh my gosh. This was last night actually. Is it? I don't know what time zone this is in. Yeah, this was last night. Massive spike on USD CAD, then a spike down. There was some news. Trump put out a tweet actually about Canada. Mark Carney yesterday said, we're ending our decades long, intimate relationship with the US. And we can no longer rely on them as a reliable trade partner, yada, yada, yada. Nobody believes anything that you're saying. And so Trump put out a tweet about it, saying, he's really disappointed in Canada and saying that Canada even used like an illegal ad with Ronald Reagan, a clip of Ronald Reagan saying how he didn't like tariffs. I don't know what Canada is doing. We're, falling apart up here. But so that's why we had this spike here. And then, with CPI, the weaker dollar, we had that massive drop. So USD CAD is an interesting one. If we look at the dollar index, oof, that's why sometimes it's important to pull up the actual chart because you can see, oh, the dollar hasn't moved. The dollar hasn't moved based on CPI. Yeah, no, that's not quite the case. And it's just an absolutely massive textbook play. So if you're trying to figure out how does CPI work, how does it move the markets, if CPI comes in lower than expected, interest rates, all of that, today is an absolute textbook move. Weaker dollar, stocks higher. Absolutely perfect, including gold higher. We're now at 0.2%. So we'll keep an eye on that as we move along. So very, very, very interesting there. What stocks are doing what? Rivian just hit the brakes. The EV maker is cutting 600 jobs. So that's not great. The end of EV tax credits are really hitting automakers pretty hard. We saw that with Tesla. Their earnings are not so hot. They had a lot of revenue because people are running in to get the cars before the end of the EV tax credits. But Honeywell is an old school industrial company, but they jumped 7% yesterday after strong earnings. American Airlines pulled off a rare soft landing, posting a smaller than expected Q3 loss. So they didn't make money, but they lost less than expected, which is crazy. So maybe it's from all those Canadians, me included, Googling cheap flights to Florida, finally paying off. This one was interesting. NVIDIA just teamed up with Uber to work on self driving tech because apparently GPUs weren't enough. They want your steering wheel too. The AI on wheels race is heating up. But let's be real, Elon's still doing donuts around everyone else. Those robo taxis are just absolutely insane. The FSD, the new update for FSD 14 from Tesla, just insane. So pretty cool that Uber and Nvidia are teaming up, but who knows if this is actually going to lead to anything. Coffee prices hit an all-time high. I mean, I nobody in this chat is trading coffee, but it's just an interesting thing to look at. You can see the chart here. This goes back to May 2023. So I have no idea why coffee prices are rising, but just an interesting thing to keep an eye on, I suppose. So I put that in the email there. Trading success. This is a good one. Just a little bit of Friday motivation for you. This guy Parab, pretty incredible the payouts that he's earned, $6,400, and that was just on two 100K accounts. So really, really impressive. Impressive there. And again, I like just putting these in because sometimes trading trading isn't sometimes hard. Trading is always hard, and so just having a little bit of motivation is good. What are you guys looking at today? We can do, there's a couple more things that I want to look at. We'll pull up Twitter. I want to see what you guys. Canada itself is pretty weak. Good CPI. Yeah, Canada, the economy is very weak. The labor market's not looking very good. Growth is non-existent, and it's all based on immigration, right? Canada's just been bringing in so many people because they understand that otherwise, people aren't having kids. There's no growth, so they're trying to manufacture. There's essentially fake growth by just bringing in as many people as possible. Omkar says he only does indices. What do you recommend to take care of while trading? When it comes to indices, I think it's probably the most important to pay attention to fundamentals, aka what we've been looking at, because indices are going to be primarily driven. Of course, there's earnings from companies and whatnot, but on a shorter time frame, indices are dictated by risk sentiment. So you need to understand risk sentiment. Are we risk on? Are we risk off? And by extension, you need to understand what the Federal Reserve is going to do. So the reason that we have rallied since Wednesday, the reason we've had this nice rally is, yesterday we had news that Trump is going to be meeting with Xi, so that's risk on. We know that interest rate cuts are coming. So again, that is risk on. We had weaker than expected CPI today, which means the Fed can cut rates. When the Fed cuts rates, that is risk on. So there really hasn't been any short-term reason for you to want to sell the indice. Yes, we're overextended. Yes, valuations are insane. But you only really care about valuations if you're buying and holding a stock long term. So for indices, it really all comes down to risk sentiment. You really got to keep a close eye on risk sentiment for that. Scalping the 5-minute chart, that's tough. Let's take a look at CNBC here. Inflation rate hit 3% in September, lower than expected. Long-awaited CPI report shows. Consumer Price Index showed a 0.3% increase on the month, putting the annual inflation rate at 3%. The thing about inflation, it's all a scam. Like most things in life, it's all an absolute scam. They want you to think that it's really at 3%, but inflation is way above 3%. Look at the price of groceries. Look at the price of literally anything. Inflation is so much higher than 3%. No, it's not at the COVID levels, which were insane, but CPI is just a manufactured nonsense thing. So all the more reason to make more money in the markets because, oh, we're going to cheer that inflation's at 3%. The target for the Fed for decades was 2%, 2% inflation. And they have literally removed that from their goal. Their main goal now is to maximize labor, to maximize the number of people that have a job, which is great. However, they've removed from their guideline of it was a minor shift in wording. Um, I don't remember it off the top of my head, but they changed the wording of it, which led to the result of it being no longer 2% consistently. So it's all nonsense. Exactly. It excludes food and energy. Core CPI showed a 0.2% monthly gain. So that's with that. Here we go. Look at this. Trump terminates all U.S. trade negotiations with Canada over Reagan tariffs TV ad. That's hilarious. Elbows up, everyone. The freaking Mark Carney. This whole thing. Elbows up, elbows up. Yeah. How's that working out for you, buddy? Unbelievable. And the thing about Canadians is everyone's going to blame Trump. Everyone in Canada is going to blame Trump of say, "Oh, how could he do this? How could he terminate all US trade negotiations? These tariffs are unconstitutional." Let me tell you something about tariffs. Canada has an over 100% tariff on dairy coming in from the United States. Hmm, interesting. They've had it for decades. Decades that Canada has had it, which means that US dairy farmers cannot bring their milk into Canada unless they want to pay a massive, massive tariff. As a result, when I go to the grocery store down the street and I go look to buy milk, it's all local milk. Now, is that wrong? It's not wrong to want to consume Canadian dairy, but that same thing, Canadians are fine with it. He's doing the exact same thing for the United States. So it's all, I'm telling you, never underestimate the foolishness of Canadians. I'm telling you, the Liberals were in power for 12 years. Nobody likes the direction that Canada's going in, but let's elect the exact same party who's been in power. Yeah, so I'm sorry that I'm lagging, but it's just, and again, I'm Canadian, so it's like you could probably, if I was American, you say, well, you're biased, but I literally am Canadian. So it's just, and the stuff that happened with COVID too, I'm probably not allowed to say that, but it was just insane. So, anyways, Trump terminates all U.S. trade negotiations with Canada over Reagan tariffs TVI. President Donald Trump said he has terminated. Da da da. Trump said he was doing so because of an allegedly fake advertisement that Canada was airing that features former President Ronald Reagan speaking negatively about tariffs. So I have no idea what this actual advertisement is. I don't really care what the advertisement is. The thing that's most annoying is who's paying for that advertisement. It's Canadian taxpayers. So it's just Doug Ford, the premier of the Ontario province, recently said the province would spend $75 million on ads to run in the United States featuring that's so crazy. That is so $75 million. That is taxpayer dollars. Do I want my money being going to running an ad on TV criticizing tariffs? It's so dumb. It's so dumb. It is so unbelievably dumb. Everything. Yeah. Uh, yes. So sorry, I'm just taking a look at the chat here. Yes, I need a good investment in my streaming system. Absolutely. I absolutely do. If you guys have any recommendations for any good systems or whatnot, you let me know. But this is just so it's so frustrating. It's so absolutely frustrating. Thursday night, he was terminating all trade negotiations with Canada. Yada yada. Trump's announcement accused Canada of trying to influence a pending U.S. Supreme Court case that could doom many of his tariffs, including ones on Canada. A statement came after the Ronald Reagan Foundation said the ad misrepresents a presidential radio address Reagan delivered in April 1987 and that his remarks were edited without permission. The foundation did not say what was misleading. Interesting. He says, she says, who knows? September 9th, Supreme Court will hear Trump tariffs case on fast track. Yeah, we'll have to see what goes on with that. Dow opens 200 points higher. What are we? 930? 930. Okay, let's take a look at the market open. Let's see what's going on here. S&P 0.6, Bitcoin 1% still 0.27 for gold. The dollar is continuing to drop though, a little bit here. It's found a little bit of support at 98.7, but it's yeah, interesting. Are you guys able to hear it? What's this? Omkar half unable to hear. Oh, really? The audio's been that bad. You guys have only been able to hear half of that's no good. That's no good at all. But yes, I do need to get a better system. So that is coming. Don't worry, that is coming. We're going to invest in a better system. Dollar index, S&P 0.7%. So we'll keep an eye on that. Let's go back over to some good Twitter stuff. Yeah, sorry about the lag. I apologize, but we're gonna get a better system in here, and we're gonna be good. I promise. $7 trillion is sitting in money markets. This one's crazy. This one is crazy. $7 trillion sitting in money markets. As rates come down, that $7 trillion will go somewhere. Where? Gold, Bitcoin, real estate, and stocks. Look at that. That's insane. So this is money that is sitting as cash or like I don't know if it's treasuries. I don't know exactly what's considered a money market fund, but totally insane the amount of money. Uh looking for a seller, looking for a buyer. Yeah. So that's that. What else we have? The US national debt hit an all-time high. Yeah, I'm sorry guys about the not only audio stream is going back and forth continuously. Yeah, I'm sorry about that. I'll have to get a better system. I'll have to do something. Stream is going back and forth. Yeah, apologies. US national debt reaches new all-time high of $38 trillion. This is the biggest takeaway of Trump being elected. It shows that it doesn't matter if you're blue or red, who's in office, the debt is going higher no matter what, which is really unfortunate. This Bitcoin whale with a 100% win rate just opened a huge position. Take a look at that. A whale with a 100% win rate has opened an $87.4 million Bitcoin long position. He definitely knows something. Dot, dot, dot. Look at that. Yeah, maybe it's Barron Trump. Totally insane. What else do we have here? Chinese investors are buying an insane amount of gold. Breaking Shanghai gold warrants have now risen to record 86,000 kilograms this week. Look at that. Shanghai data suggests physical gold ownership has risen 25-fold this year. This is huge. This is a sleeper event right here. And the thing is, China could be buying this privately. China could be buying this off the books, but they're not. They're choosing to buy this. They're choosing to buy gold publicly. And that shows that they are losing confidence in the US. They want to get off treasuries. It's pretty crazy stuff, to be frank. Yesterday, gold price fell, making one-day drop since April 2013. Yeah, really, really interesting stuff there. So, very wild. So let me take a look now at anything that's going on Twitter that is interesting. Any interesting tweets or whatnot? Da, da, da. So you made $160 million in your NBA career. Yes, Dave. And now you're facing a federal indictment for rigging a game to make $200K. That's correct, Dave. Dave Ramsey is so funny. He is so funny. Mom Donnie. Oh my goodness. Mom Donnie. Not going to be good. Da, da, da. Ooh, some more drama in the prop firm industry. Never a dull day. Let's see what's going on the market count here. S&P 500 futures surged nearly 1% to new record highs. Someone bought 4,000 Bitcoin for $67,000, hauled for 14 years, and now $442 million in profit. That's insane. That's insane. Super crazy. Nice little FTMO payout there. Okay. So that is pretty much everything that I wanted to cover. Take a look back at the charts, 0.82%. Overall, we are at risk on. Trump's meeting with Xi. We've had some good earnings. Everything's rallying. Inflation's down. Fed cuts are coming. We are going to the moon until we're not. We're going to the moon until something cracks. Something will crack. Not maybe not this year. Maybe not next year. But with the national debt, with what was the other report? With all the Bank of America's signals, the overvaluations, the AI bubble, something will crack. Who's to say when that is coming? But something is coming. So we're bullish until we are not bullish. Guys, I appreciate you being here. I'm really enjoying doing these. I'm so sorry about the lagging and whatnot. Maybe I need to upgrade my Wi-Fi. I think I need to just upgrade a bunch of things. But because we're doing this every day and I'm really enjoying doing it, I think it'll be well worth the investment. So the 3K account today goes to Omkar. So congratulations, Omkar. So message us, email. Us support at Lark Funding. Omkar. Okay, give us proof that 5K 3-step, 5K 3-step account. USD flash PMI in 5 minutes. Is this true? Is this true? No, there's no PMI at the same day that CPI comes out. Oh yeah, S&P. Yeah, S&P Global Manufacturing. I am mistaken. This guy here, a higher than expected figure should be seen. Hold on. A higher than expected figure should be seen as positive for US, while a lower than expected should be seen as negative for the US. The previous was 54.5, consensus 53.9, so it's expected to drop, which does not bode that well for the US economy. Just a screenshot, Omkar, of like proof that this is your YouTube account, just like a screenshot or something. Just prove that, you are who you say you are. So that's coming out. I don't think there was anything else I wanted to cover. Let me know if there's something you guys wanted me to go over. But 40 minutes in, I think pretty good breakdown. Pretty good breakdown. The main takeaway is I need better equipment. But yeah, I think. Oh, you're unaware of the giveaway. Yeah, look at the pinned message. Look at the pinned message. So keep an eye out on PMI. We'll keep an eye on stocks. Bitcoin's dropping a little bit there. Bitcoin's dropping a little bit. I don't like that. I do like it long term. I want it to drop. NASDAQ, everything's just going to the moon. Insane. What's this? Is this record highs on the S&P? Oh my goodness, it is a record high. I told you, going to the moon. This is crazy. Everything goes up until it doesn't. It's just unbelievable. 60, it's going to hit 6,800. Probably, yeah, it already hit 6,800. 7 grand is just up there. Unreal. And this is why the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. It's not a fault of the system. It's simply because fiat's going to zero and rich people own assets. You have to own assets. You have to own something hard, right? Stocks, Bitcoin, gold. I don't care what it is, but that's the only way. That's the only way around it. So I appreciate you guys being here. I really, really do. I hope you have a good weekend. Again, this is the worst day of the week for traders. So I'll see you on Monday. Probably won't have the better equipment by Monday, but we're going to order it and we're going to be good. So I appreciate you guys being here. Have a great weekend. Peace.